So a study according to Deloitte found that in 2010, only 80% of people were dissatisfied with their work. And in 2013, 89% of people were dissatisfied with work. That's almost 9 out of 10 people who are not happy in their jobs. Why I started this session with that question is because about 5 years ago, I was in a conference and the facilitator asked the same thing. And only one girl out of 500 people put up her hand. Only one girl was not just satisfied, only one girl loved what she did every day. That girl wasn't me. I didn't put up my hand. So 4 years ago at that time, I was working in management consulting. So I was doing stuff like transformational consulting, strategy consulting, working with corporate clients and government clients. And it was a really good job, but I would come home after work, and after work meaning 11 p.m., midnight, and then I would go to my studio and I would start painting, and I would paint until 3 a.m., 4 a.m., go to bed, wake up again at 8 a.m. the next morning and go to the office. But instead of like being really, really tired the next day, painting just energized me. So I was painting a lot. I started painting a lot. And a very good friend of mine, she's a singer-songwriter, she's based in America, Avi, some of you might know her. She looked at my work and she said, "Alena, you're so talented." And I said, no, I'm not talented. Like, I can't paint half of the stuff that's in my head. I just can't get it out on paper. I said, "Look at you, Z, you're talented. Like, you're writing your own songs, you have your own albums, you know, you have your own band, people love you." I said, "You're talented, Z." And she said to me that people need to make time for their gifts. And that really stuck with me because I think a lot of us are doing things that we're not naturally good at. And if we have things that we are naturally good at, our talents, our gifts, and if we just cultivate those, spend more time on that, then things will just come so much easier to us, right? So she said to me, always make time for your gifts. Fast forward to today, I'm now a painter, so I get to paint every day. I'm a traditional musician. This instrument that I play is called the sape, and I'm one of the only girls to play it. It was initially taboo for women to even touch this instrument. This instrument comes from Sarawak, or from Borneo actually. I also go back to the village and I learn old songs from the pre-Christian times from the old ladies. So these are old chants and old songs that are no longer sung in public, and I take them, I learn them, I change them, and I share them with the whole world. I'm also a dancer and a traditional dancer as well, and I teach all of this. So there was at one point along the way where I was really considering studying bachelor's in fine arts. And one of the art lecturers said to me, "Alena, you're not going to be happy as a fine artist." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because fine art is very egocentric, it's very self-centered, it's all about me, and what I think of the world. And you, Alena, you're a very social person, you love being with people, you love communities, and you're not going to be happy in fine arts." Now that's what he said. If there's any artists or designers in the room, sorry, we can debate on that later, what fine art is and everything. But anyway, that was my reality. So because I wasn't sure what I was going to do, I didn't do the bachelor's in fine arts. And I instead turned to a friend of mine who's a director of a wildlife conservation organization, and he sat me down and he said, "Alena, every time I do my work, I get very angry." He said, "I get very angry when I hear about tiger poachers." How many of you knew that the state of Johor is actually one of the key conservation sites in the world for tigers? And he also works with orangutans, and he says, "Every time I see a dead orangutan, it just breaks me so much, and I get really upset." And he said, "Alena, whatever you do, you have to do what breaks you, do what you care about." And when he said that to me, I was so scared. I was like, how do you face that every single day? And do you know why he said that? He said, it's because when you find what breaks you, and when you pursue that, you are always connected to the challenge. So you will always you will always have that connection to what you want to do. So I was thinking about what my art lecturer said. How he said you can't be a fine artist because what was that? Because you are too social or too into community work and that kind of stuff. So it really bothered me, and for the next few months I was kind of thinking, what does this mean? What does this mean? So I devised this challenge for myself. Okay. So I devised this challenge for myself, and I called it Art 4. And it's where I challenge myself to use art as a medium for social impact. So on top of painting, creating music, and teaching, I also still keep my love for strategy and project management, and I work with corporate and government clients on art projects. So either like art narration, benchmark studies, for example, personal development and professional development. And I take the revenue from this and I put it into positive social impact projects. So, for example, I work with Penang ladies on their craft. So what I do is I help to market and sell their craft work. I work with children. That's a photo of me and my band in America working with underprivileged kids to help them gain self-awareness and self-management through music. I do illustrations for animal conservation, so currently working on the Saving the Orangutans plan in Sarawak. These dancers are dancers from Miri, and this is them performing in KL in March. And it was the first time that all 6 of them had been on an aeroplane. This picture here is of a bridge that was made it was made from the funds that I took from selling artwork. So in January there was a sudden flash flood in a village, and this village had not been flooded over in decades. So overnight, all 3 of the bridges in the village were destroyed by the floods. And this was very, very tragic because it was just before harvest time and the bridges led across the river to their farms. So I called the village, and I was in KL, this is a village in Sarawak, and I said, what can I do? What help do you need? And they said, we need money. Can you ask your friends to donate money? I said, I can't just ask people for money, So I took some of my old sketches and sold it, and we built 1 bridge from it. The other 2 bridges were going to be built by the public sector, and even until today, 11 months later, there's only 1 bridge, and that's the art bridge. So when I say do what breaks you, this is what breaks me, or it's what I care intensely about. This is the village of my father. It's in Borneo. It's called Longpluan, and it's very close to the Indonesian border. These are the people that live there, and this is where they live. This is a longhouse, and these are them going to the farm. The picture in the middle is of some ladies from the Penang tribe. The Penang used to be semi-nomadic, and why I say this breaks me is because they are very, very loving, kind, intelligent people who are often put behind kind of like a glass mirror by the rest of the world, I feel, because of the problems they face from logging. So if you kind of do a quick Google search of the Penang people, how many of you here have heard of the Penang people? Okay, great. So if you do a quick kind of search of the Penang people, you'll find a lot of international attention on them, setting up barricades to kind of ward off the loggers. And when I meet them, they're people just like you and me, They have problems as well, they have joys as well. So what I do is I paint them. And each of these portraits have a story behind them. And why Indigenous people are so important these days is because we are very much ignoring the knowledge that they have. Their cultures, their languages actually have a lot of importance and potential in keeping climate change away. These three portraits are of Penan people. So I'll just tell you the story of one of them. The one on that side, I don't do left and right. On that side, her name is Pahin. And she's a grandma, so she's about 60, 70 years old. She doesn't know how old she is. She doesn't have an IC. She doesn't know when she was born. Pahin has a very close relationship with my family from way back in the day. And this is her processing sago. So sago is a wild plant. Because they're hunter-gatherers, they used to harvest wild plants, and sago is their staple food. Of course, when logging comes in, they can no longer survive on sago alone because it's so hard to find. And because logging came in so quickly, they didn't have the time to learn how to plant properly. Pahin's younger son is now in KL. I say younger, he's about 40 years old. He's been in hospital for 3 months because his youngest baby was born with a hole in her heart. The baby's 3 months old now. So he said to me, he's worried that he can't send his kids to school. He has 4 other kids. His oldest daughter is in Form 4. She's going to be in her final year of high school next year. And because he's been out of work for 3 months, he just thinks he can't send them to school. So he told me this story. He said, Alena, you know our ancestors in the pre-Christian times, they used to listen to the message of a red bird. There was a red bird in the jungle, and we would look at the way it flew and its bird song as well, and these were messages or omens from the spirits. So the next project that I'm launching next week is a series of red birds painted in watercolor, and it's called the Red Bird Project, and this will be, all the funds that I get from it will ensure that Valerie finishes Form 5 next year. And this is very, very important because it's very rare to find a Penan girl who is in school at that age. A lot of them either can't afford to go to school, or they get pregnant at a very, very young age, about 13 or 14 years old. So if this girl finishes Form 5, imagine what she can do for her small village. So what I want to share with you is that it is possible to do what you love and to help other people and to monetize it. And a lot of what I was going to say is I was going to give all of you homework and kind of like, write down what my gifts are and then find out what you care about. But since a lot of you here already are doing that, that's great. And I also had this, so there's so many problems in the world and there's so many frameworks we can look at. All you have to do is pick one of them and pick what your skills are, focus on one of these, and figure out how to monetize it as well. Thank you.
Namong Dayak Kelabit, 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 Namong
Tuyang adat vanelan natalu inang.